Okay, now we're down to chapter 2b, Roman Catholicism. And this is another touchy subject for a lot of people. There's no doubt. But I'm just going to start reading here along with a slideshow that's probably the side. I've got several images to do with the sun worship Babylonian mystery school connections with the Vatican. So here we go. We're going to turn our attention to the Vatican now, as their upper echelon is working in concert with the synagogue of Satan and other various factions of the Great Plan. The entire Great Plan power structure is shaped like a pyramid, with the inner circle of the followers of the Babylonian mystery religion at the very top of the compartmentalized system, and unknowing, naive humanity at the base, you and me, holding the whole thing up. Between us and them, we have the societal system they own and control: banking, the economy, government, media, energy resources, multinational corporations, and organized religion. On December 25, 2005, the current head of the Vatican, Pope Benedict the 16th, in his annual Christmas speech at the Vatican, flat out called for a new world order, and he meant the one we are talking about in this book. We're going to go back in time here to see how and why the Vatican is willingly part of the Great Plan. I want to make one thing crystal clear here before we go forward. I'm not throwing the average God-fearing, following, respecting Catholic under the bus here. I don't doubt for a second the sincerity of the average Catholic's faith, only that they have been deceived, as all of us have, through the agenda of the Great Plan. After the death of Jesus Christ, his ministry began to spread slowly at first, but then like wildfire across the land. At this time, the Roman Empire was omnipotent and ruled the entire known world with an iron fist. The leaders of Rome, the emperors, and their upper echelon were all followers of the Great Plan. This is why they were in power. They worshipped an entire pantheon of gods, including counting the emperors as gods who were to be worshipped. It was rulers like Caligula, whose turn at the tiller of power was defined by violence, murder, torture, pedophilia, and incest, who lorded over the Roman Empire immediately after the death of Christ. It is these types of people who ruled the Roman Empire right up until the time it took over Christianity in the 4th century and became the Holy Roman Empire, and those practices continue right to today. This is the root cause of all the rampant sexual misconduct permeating the Catholic Church. As the faith and belief in Christ began to grow amongst the slaves and others of the Roman Empire, the Roman aristocracy could see the writing on the wall that Christianity was going to be a force that would challenge or even overthrow their authority. They decided, instead of competing with it for power, to co-opt the Christian movement and incorporate it into their form of governmental control. They knew their days ruling the world were going to be numbered if they didn't act. Prior to this decision, those found to be practicing Christians were summarily fed to the lions for the amusement of the pagan masses. In approximately 313 AD, Roman Emperor Constantine established himself as the first authoritative leader of the Christians, the first pope, if you will. This led to the birth of the Vatican a dozen years later. The pagan Roman Empire was thereby transformed into the Holy Roman Empire. They melded Jesus and the events surrounding his prophetic coming with the Babylonian mystery religion, creating Roman Catholicism. In order to get the ignorant but substantial masses to go along with this, who were used to pantheistic worship, a new pantheon was set up. This is where you get the practice of Catholics praying to different entities other than God even today: Mother Mary, St. Peter, and a host of other saints. These entities are also displayed in statues that are also prayed to. The second commandment explicitly states, "You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol or any likeness of what is in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the water under the earth." Exodus 20:3 and 4. The Catechism of the Council of Trent, convened by the Vatican in the mid-1500s, states the following, quote, "It is lawful to have images in the church and to give honor and worship unto them," unquote. This action by the Vatican effectively nullified the second commandment. They had no authority to do this. To further the melding of Christianity to paganism, the Vatican around 336 AD officially placed the celebration of Christ's birthday on the same day that is also the original sun god's birthday, King Nimrod's birthday, December 25. Any learned Bible scholar will tell you that Christ was not born on December 25th, but was probably born in the fall season, according to various verses given in the New Testament. The Vatican is also responsible for corrupting the celebration of the rise of Christ from the dead, now called Easter, which is also based on King Nimrod's Babylonian mystery religion. The Vatican was born of evil and has been promoting evil since its inception around 325 AD. This was the start of organized Christianity, the form of which turns people off to Christians today. This is very important to understand. Rome has ruled Europe and the world for the most part since before and after the death of Christ. It is only with the recent rise in power of the Freemasonic wing of the Great Plan over the last 250 years or so that their power has been challenged. The Vatican ultimately chose to side with the Masonic wing behind the scenes while maintaining an anti-Masonic stance up front. This is evidenced by the Rothschild-Vatican banking relationship of over 200 years, while at the same time the Vatican refused to recognize the State of Israel's existence until 1993. This is the year the Vatican officially buried the hatchet and formally joined forces with the Freemasons to work to complete the Great Plan. Here are some prime examples regarding the Vatican and their Luciferian Great Plan agenda to separate man from God. According to the Ten Commandments, God dictated to his followers to honor the seventh day of the week. Quote, "Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your manservant or maidservant, nor your animals, nor the alien within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy." Unquote. Exodus 20:8. The seventh day of the week is Saturday. This is why today, if you look at a calendar, Sunday is shown as the first day of the week and Saturday is the seventh day, the Sabbath day. This is why Jews today pay respect to God on Saturday. In order to further separate mankind from God and subjugate him, the Vatican over a number of years gradually changed the Sabbath for Christians from Saturday to Sunday. This was set in motion by Emperor Constantine through the Sunday Law of March 7, 321 AD. This law reads as follows, quote, "On the venerable day of the sun, let the magistrates and people residing in cities rest, and let all workshops be closed." Unquote. The day of the sun is a reference to sun worship, which in fact originated with King Nimrod. The Council of Laodicea added to the substituting of the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday in AD 364. The Council acknowledged the Sabbath as Saturday, but also gave recognition to Sunday. Canon 29 stipulated, quote, "Christians shall not Judaize and be idle on Saturday, but shall work on that day. But the Lord's day they shall especially honor, and as being Christians shall, if possible, do no work on that day. If, however, they are found Judaizing, They will be shut out from Christ, unquote. The Council of Trent, already noted here for sanctifying idol worship, was when the Vatican officially changed the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday in the mid-1500s. Was the Sabbath changed by Christ? Is there a passage to be found in the New Testament moving the Sabbath, sanctioned by God Himself, from Saturday to Sunday? Certainly not. Such a momentous alteration to God's divine law would have been explicitly mentioned in the New Testament, but no such ordinances are to be found. There is not a passage in the entire Bible which sanctions any change in the Sabbath day. Another deception to drive a wedge between man and God, and just a part of the great plan. This action by the Vatican effectively nullified the fourth commandment. They had no authority to do this. Bottom line here for Christians reading this is that Saturday is the Sabbath, not Sunday. And I'm going to fumble around here just for a second with just some words. You know, I've been thinking about this for several years now, and I haven't come to any conclusions. It bothers me to a point. I haven't done anything to really change it as far as a worship day or a Sabbath day. You know, it's. But the other side of the coin is the legalism versus grace by faith, and I'm just going to leave it at that. It's an individual thing. If you're a Christian, or I don't even like to use the word Christian anymore. But anyway, I just like I said, I was going to mumble and fumble around here to say that I do agree with the premise here, but as far as someone hitting me in the head with a stick about it, I don't tolerate that very well. But anyway, let's continue reading. The unholy Roman Empire teaches all kinds of blasphemy, including that a Christian soul must burn in purgatory after death until all of their sins have been purged. To speed up the purging process, money may be paid into the coffers of the Vatican, so a priest can pay for an earlier release of the sinner's soul. Not only that, but the Vatican allows indulgences, which is prepayments for sins not yet committed. This is absolute blasphemy, again with no biblical passages to back any of this up. God's word is clearly against the doctrine of purgatory, and especially for trying to buy your way into God's good grace instead of directly asking for forgiveness from God. According to the Bible, Christ came to forgive us for being who we are as humans. The things we do that we know deep in our hearts we shouldn't. End of story. Another blasphemy by the unholy Roman Empire was by creating something called the Mass, which they tell their followers is a continual sacrifice of Christ. This is a completely heretic act. The Catholic Encyclopedia states the following, quote, "In the celebration of the Holy Mass, the bread and wine are changed into the body and blood of Christ. It is called transubstantiation, for in the sacrament of the Eucharist and the substance of bread and wine do not remain, but the entire substance of bread is changed into the body of Christ, and the entire substance of wine is changed into His blood, the species or outward semblance of bread and wine alone remaining." Unquote. Volume 4, page 277, article Consecration. The Vatican teaches that the Holy Mass is a literal eating and drinking of the flesh and blood of Christ. The priest supposedly has the power to change the bread and wine into the body and blood of Christ. This is a complete and utter abomination unto God, and is in reality an occult black magic act and practice, which shouldn't be surprising since the great plan is the origination of the occult. Let's be very clear here so you understand how the Vatican is driving yet another wedge between mankind and his God. Drinking blood is purely a black magic occult Luciferian practice, and by partaking in this occult ceremony, you are supremely blaspheming God. Why are Catholics pretending to do this occult and evil ceremony as a religious Christian ceremony? because the upper echelon of the Vatican are Luciferian followers of the Great Plan and always have been, and still are today. Besides all the above listed perversions of God's will, the unholy Roman Empire has been behind all kinds of other wholesome goodness over the last 1700 years or so, not in the name of God, but in the name of the Great Plan. I probably don't need to tell you the evil committed by the unholy Roman Empire throughout such events as the Crusades, the Inquisition, etc. However, we are going to go over some specifics of just how sadistically evil the people running the show were and are still today. I used to despise Christians for the evil acts they have been responsible for over the centuries, especially knowing what happened in the Middle Ages. Little did I know the real truth behind the matter, and hopefully your eyes are beginning to open that things are not at all how they seem. The legendary Crusades were only about gaining and maintaining wealth and power, and had nothing to do with the values and teachings of Jesus Christ. And then there's what was called the Inquisition. In 1233, Pope Gregory IX pronounced the official beginning of the Inquisition to root out heresy in the land under control of Rome, and dispatched sadistic monks to carry it out. These were literally Luciferian priests of the Great Plan. The horrific atrocities they executed can only be described as satanic, and so far removed from how Jesus Christ taught we should treat each other, that it just boggles the mind that people can't see this stuff for what it really is, pure evil. These evil, depraved monks decided that the best way to determine if someone was a heretic was to torture them extensively and creatively, just like Jesus would have wanted, right? Just to illustrate how evil the people running the unholy Roman Empire are. Here are some of the persuasive gadgets the Inquisitors came up with to commit their evil acts, all with the approval of the Vatican and in the name of blaspheming Christ. Not only this, there is not a doubt in my mind that while performing these horrific acts, they were also conducting occult rituals, which is the foundation of the Great Plan. The Judas Chair. This was a large pyramid-shaped seat. The accused heretic was placed on top of this chair with the point inserted into their anus or vagina, then very slowly lowered onto the point with ropes and weights. The effect was to gradually stretch out and cause duress to the opening of choice in an extremely painful manner. The head vice. The Inquisitors would place the heretic's head in a specially fitted vice, then tighten until the teeth and bones were crushed, with the victim's eyes usually popping out of the skull. The pear. A large, bulbous-looking gadget that is inserted again into the Inquisitor's orifice of choice, the mouth, anus, or vagina. A lever on the device causes it to slowly expand while being inserted until points emerge from the tips and pierce the victim from the inside. The wheel. Pretty straightforward. The offending heretic was strapped to a large wheel, and then their limbs were smashed to pieces with an iron bar. The shattered arms and legs were then weaved like rope in between the wheel spokes to form a macabre piece of art. Methods of execution weren't any less gruesome at the hands of the Inquisitors. Burning at the stake was the most common form of death, but the Inquisitors also employed other sick and twisted forms of killing the condemned heretics. Among these were sawing. Heretics were hung upside down and were sawed in half starting at the genital area. Disembowelment. A small slit was cut in the heretic's gut, and his intestines were drawn out slowly and deliberately to keep the victim alive as long as possible. Nice. If the Vatican was smart, they'd fire up the Inquisitions again to look into all the pedophilia problems that they just can't seem to shake. This brings us now to a covert, highly funded, and highly secretive Vatican organization named the Society of Jesus, or the Jesuits for short. also nicknamed the Black Assassins. They are the behind-the-scenes foot soldiers helping to ensure and promote the unholy Roman Empire's place in the Great Plan New World Order. They were formed mainly to counter the rise of the Protestants and the threat to the Vatican's power. Founded in 1534 by practicing occultist Ignatius Loyola, the upper echelon of the Jesuits are Luciferians, and the vast majority below them believe they are doing good works, same as the Freemasons today. Ignatius Loyola loved to spend time studying books about the various dead saints. In fact, he aspired to find ways to be able to communicate with these dead saints, which of course is necromancy, an occult Luciferian practice. During the years of 1525 to 1528, he put into writing his new spiritual outlook on life based on his occult work and called these writings the spiritual exercises of Ignatius Loyola. The Society's founding principles are contained in the document Formula of the Institute, written by Loyola. Jesuits are regarded for their work in education, founding schools, colleges, universities, and seminaries, intellectual research, and cultural pursuits, and for their missionary efforts. Of course, all these efforts hide the true nature of their purpose, propagating the great planned pursuits of the unholy Roman Empire. The head of the Jesuits, also known as the Superior General, is often referred to as the Black Pope. Black in the sense used here means secret, occult. The Black Pope is in charge of commanding not only the Jesuits, but Vatican fraternal organizations such as the Knights of Malta, the Knights of Columbus, and others. Anyone belonging to any of these organizations is doing the work of the Great Plan and not the work of Christ, no matter what they are told or believe. The Vatican has long denied the alleged occult role of the Jesuits, and especially the existence of the insidious, quote, Jesuit extreme oath of induction, unquote. Make no mistake, the oath I am going to show you is real, and it has been around since at least the early 1700s. The text of the Jesuit extreme oath of induction was meticulously recorded in the journals of the 62nd Congress, 3rd Session of the United States Congressional Record, House Calendar number 397, Report number 1523, 15 February 1913, pages 3215 to 3216. And even though the author doesn't make a point, isn't it a coincidence that, again, we have 1913, the year that this was entered into the Congressional Record. Okay, the text was subsequently torn out of the Congressional Record by an anonymous agent, but not before it was copied word by word by several researchers, including Ian Paisley for the European Institute of Protestant Studies. According to Paisley, the blood oath was also quoted by Charles Diddler in his book Subterranean Rome, 1843, translated from the French original, and Father Alberto Rivera, who escaped from the Jesuit order in 1967 and died in 1997, confirmed before his untimely and suspicious death that the induction ceremony and the text of the Jesuit oath were real and identical to what appeared in the 1913 Congressional Record. Before the oath is performed, Paisley paints a sinister picture of the private ceremony. This quote is as recounted in Diddler's book and Father Rivera's recollections. Quote, "When a Jesuit of the minor rank is to be elevated to command," said Paisley, "he is conducted into the chapel of the Covenant of the Order, where there are only 3 others present, the principal or superior standing in front of the altar. On either side stands a monk, one of whom holds a banner of yellow and white, which are the papal colors, and the other a black banner with a dagger and red cross above a skull and crossbones, with the word INRI, and below them the words Eustem Necar, Regis Impius, I don't know if I pronounced any of those words right, the meaning of which is, it is just to exterminate or annihilate impious or heretical kings, governments, or rulers. Upon the floor is a red cross at which the postulant or candidate kneels. The superior hands him a small black crucifix, which he takes in his left hand and presses to his heart, and the superior at the same time presents to him a dagger, which he grasps by the blade and holds the point against his heart, the superior still holding it by the hilt, and thus addressing the postulant. At this point, the Jesuit General Superior speaks, and the blood oath is administered. The following is a copy of the text of the oath as it appeared in the 1913 Congressional Record. The Superior speaks, and please note how often this oath refers to the Masons. My son, heretofore, you have been taught to act the dissembler among Roman Catholics, to be a Roman Catholic, and to be a spy even among your own brethren, to believe no man, to trust no man, among the Reformers to be a Reformer, among the Huguenots to be a Huguenot, among the Calvinists to be a Calvinist, among other Protestants generally to be a Protestant, and obtaining their confidence, to seek even to preach from their pulpits, and to denounce with all the vehemence in your nature our holy religion and the Pope, and even to descend so low as to become a Jew among Jews, that you might be enabled to gather together all information for the benefit of your order as a faithful soldier of the Pope. You have been taught to plant insidiously the seeds of jealousy and hatred between communities, provinces, states that were at peace, and to incite them to deeds of blood, involving them in war with each other, and to create revolutions and civil wars in countries that were independent and prosperous, cultivating the arts and the sciences and enjoying the blessings of peace, to take sides with the combatants and to act secretly with your brother Jesuit, who might be engaged on the other side, but openly opposed to that which you might be connected, only that the church might be the gainer in the end, in the conditions fixed in the treaties for peace, and that the end justifies the means. You have been taught your duty as a spy to gather all statistics, facts, and information in your power from every source, to ingratiate yourself into the confidence of the family circle of Protestants and heretics of every class and character, as well as that of the merchant, the banker, the lawyer, among the schools and universities, in parliaments and legislatures, and the judiciaries and councils of state, and to be all things to all men, for the Pope's sake, whose servants we are unto death. You have received all your instructions heretofore as a novice, a neophyte, and have served as a co-adjurer, confessor, and priest. But you have not yet been invested with all that is necessary to command in the army of Loyola in the service of the Pope. You must serve the proper time as the instrument and executioner as directed by your superiors, for none can command here who has not consecrated his labors with the blood of the heretic, for, quote, without the shedding of blood no men can be saved, unquote. Therefore, to fit yourself for your work and make your own salvation sure, you will, in addition to your former oath of obedience to your order and allegiance to the Pope, repeat after me. Text of the oath. I, blank. Now in the presence of Almighty God, the Blessed Virgin Mary, the Blessed Saint John the Baptist, the holy apostles, Saint Peter and Saint Paul, and all the saints, sacred host of heaven, and to you, my ghostly father, the Superior General of the Society of Jesus, founded by Saint Ignatius Loyola in the pontification of Paul III, and continued to the present, do by the womb of the Virgin, the matrix of God, and the rod of Jesus Christ, declare and swear that His Holiness the Pope is Christ's vice-regent, and is the true and only head of the Catholic or Universal Church throughout the earth, and that by the virtue of the keys of binding and loosing, given to his holiness by my Saviour, Jesus Christ, he hath power to dispose heretical kings, princes, states, commonwealths, and governments, and they may be safely destroyed. Therefore, to the utmost of my power, I will defend this doctrine, and his holiness's right and custom against all usurpers of the heretical or Protestant authority whatever, especially the Lutheran Church of Germany, Holland, Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, and the now pretended authority and churches of England and Scotland, and the branches of same now established in Ireland, and on the continent of America, and elsewhere, and all adherents in regard that they may be usurped and heretical, opposing the sacred Mother Church of Rome. I do now denounce and disown any allegiance as due to any heretical king, prince, or state, named Protestant or Liberal, or obedience to any of their laws, magistrates, or officers. I do further declare the doctrine of the churches of England and Scotland of the Calvinists, Huguenots, and others of the name of Protestants or Masons to be damnable, and they themselves to be damned, who will not forsake the same. I do further declare that I will help, assist, and advise all or any of His Holiness's agents in any place where I should be, in Switzerland, Germany, Holland, Ireland, or America, or in any other kingdom or territory I shall come to, and do my utmost to extirpate the heretical Protestant or Masonic doctrines, and to destroy all their pretended powers, legal or otherwise. I do further promise and declare that, notwithstanding, I am dispensed with to assume any religion heretical for the propagation of the Mother Church's interest, to keep secret and private all her agents' counsels from time to time, as they entrust me, and not to divulge directly or indirectly, by word, writing, or circumstances whatsoever, but to execute all that should be proposed, given in charge, or discovered unto me by you, my ghostly father, or any of this sacred order. I do further promise and declare that I will have no opinion or will of my own, or any mental reservation whatever, even as a corpse or cadaver, but will unhesitatingly obey each and every command that I may receive from my superiors in the militia of the Pope and of Jesus Christ, that I will go to any part of the world whithersoever I may be sent, to the frozen regions north, jungles of India, to the centers of civilization of Europe, or to the wild haunts of the barbarous savages of America, without murmuring or repining, and will be submissive in all things whatsoever is communicated to me. I do further promise and declare that I will, when opportunity presents, make and wage relentless war, secretly and openly against all heretics, Protestants and Masons, as I am directed to do, to extirpate them from the face of the whole earth, and that I will spare neither age, sex, nor condition, and that will hang, burn, waste, boil, flay, strangle, and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs and wombs of their women, and crush their infants' heads against the walls, in order to annihilate their execrable race. That when the same cannot be done openly, I will secretly use the poisonous cup, the strangulation cord, the steel of the poniard, or the leaden bullet, regardless of the honor, rank, dignity, or authority of the persons, whatever may be their condition in life, either public or private, as I at any time may be directed to do so to do by any agents of the Pope or Superior of the Brotherhood of the Holy Father of the Society of Jesus, in confirmation of which I hereby dedicate my life, soul, and all corporal powers, and with the dagger which I now receive, I will subscribe my name, written in my blood, in testimony thereof, and should I prove false, or weaken in my determination, may my brethren and fellow soldiers of the militia of the Pope cut off my hands and feet, and my throat from ear to ear, my belly be opened, and sulphur burned therein, with all the punishment that can be inflicted upon me on earth, and my soul shall be tortured by demons in eternal hell forever, that I will in voting always vote for a Knight of Columbus in preference to a Protestant, especially a Mason, that I will leave my party so to do, that if 2 Catholics are on the ticket, I will satisfy myself which is the better supporter of Mother Church, and vote accordingly, that I will not deal with or employ a Protestant if in my power to deal with or employ a Catholic, that I will place Catholic girls in Protestant families, that a weekly report may be made of the inner movements of the heretics, that I will provide myself with arms and ammunition, that I may be in readiness when the word is passed, or I am commanded to defend the Church either as an individual or with the militia of the Pope, all of which I, insert name, do swear by the Blessed Trinity and Blessed Sacrament, which I am now to receive, to perform, and on part to keep this my oath. In testimony hereof, I take this most holy and blessed sacrament of the Eucharist, and witness the same, further with my name written with the point of this dagger, dipped in my own blood, and seal in the face of this holy sacrament. He receives the wafer from the superior, and writes his name with the point of his dagger, dipped in his own blood, taken from over his heart. Superior speaks. You will now rise to your feet, and I will instruct you in the catechism necessary to make yourself known to any member of the Society of Jesus belonging to this rank. In the first place, you, as a brother Jesuit, will with another mutually make the ordinary sign of the cross as any ordinary Roman Catholic would. Then one crosses his wrists, the palms of his hands open, and the other in answer crosses his feet, one above the other. The first points with forefinger of the right hand to the center of the palm to the left. The other with the forefinger of the left hand points to the center of the palm of the right. The first then with his right hand makes a circle around his head, touching it. The other then with the forefinger of his left hand touches the left side of his body, just below his heart. The first then with his right hand draws it across the throat of the other, and the latter then with a dagger down the stomach and abdomen of the first. The first then says, Eustum, and the other answers, Necar. The first, Regis, the other answers, Impius. The first will then present a small piece of paper folded in a peculiar manner 4 times, which the other will cut longitudinally with an opening. The name Jesus will be found written upon the head and arms of a cross 3 times. You will then give and receive with him the following questions and answers. From whither do you come? Answer, the Holy Faith. Whom do you serve? Answer, the Holy Father at Rome, the Pope, and the Roman Catholic Church universal throughout the world. Who commands you? Answer, the successor, Black Pope, of St. Ignatius Loyola, the founder of the Society of Jesus, or the Soldiers of Jesus Christ. Who received you? Answer, a venerable man in white hair. How? Answer, with a naked dagger, I kneeling upon the cross beneath the banners of the Pope and of our sacred order. Did you take an oath? Answer, I did, to destroy heretics and their governments and rulers, and to spare neither age nor sex nor condition, to be as a corpse without any opinion or will of my own, but to implicitly obey my superiors in all things without hesitation or murmuring. Will you do that? Answer, I will. How do you travel? Answer, in the bark of Peter the fisherman. Whither do you travel? Answer, to the 4 quarters of the globe. For what purpose? Answer, to obey the orders of my general and superiors, and execute the will of the Pope, and faithfully fulfill the conditions of my oaths. Go ye then into all the world, and take possession of all lands in the name of the Pope. He who would not accept him as the vicar of Jesus and his vice-regent on earth, let him be accursed and exterminated. Although the Freemason upper echelon and the Vatican both work on their ends of fulfilling the Great Plan, they had always been competing entities jockeying for the highest position they could on the Luciferian pyramid of power. They are now co-joined in their quest to complete the Great Plan. The Vatican, via the Jesuits, was also responsible for creating the rat lines that smuggled all the best and most diabolical, evil, depraved scientists who tortured millions out of Nazi Germany and into the waiting hands of the U.S. government, to be put to use for our own weapons, technology, space programs within our military. That was how NASA was created, using Nazi scientists and technology. Our own government named this Operation Paperclip. Scores of other Nazi kingpins were given fake passports and sprinkled all up and down Central and South America by the Vatican. Why Central and South America? Because those countries are primarily Catholic and are for the most part controlled by the Vatican. Sure, they have punitive dictators and puppet democracies running the countries, but the common denominator is that they ultimately get their marching orders from the Vatican. The infamous Dr. Joseph Mengele, also known as Dr. Death, died a free man living on the beach in Brazil thanks to the Vatican. Good stuff, right? Just like Jesus would have wanted, right? Hell no. The unholy Roman Empire, also known as the Vatican, has done everything in its sordid history to distance mankind from God and closer to evil. The further away you get from what God wanted us to be, the closer you get to the dark, occult forces of the universe. If you are a true believer in God and Jesus Christ, the most respectful thing you can do for God is to leave the Catholic Church immediately. You do not need any type of religious affiliation to believe in and do right by God. The form of Christianity propagated by Rome is an abomination of what Christ had intended for us. You've got to wake up. Okay, well that's the end of this chapter, and I really again like the research that this writer of this book has done. I mean, it's very biased. I mean, it's not really biased. It's like I have found the complete truth, and here I'm telling you what to do. I don't really jive with that so much, but this does align with much of what can be found very easily as getting closer to the truth about a lot of things. Again, starting off with religion was probably the right thing to do, but it's very divisive. We have so much attachment to it, especially if we as humans are raised in a church or other indoctrination atmosphere. Then much of this stuff is going to be very hard to deal with, and believe me, I know. So that's it for this one, and thanks for sticking with us so far, and I'll talk to you next time.